Namaskaram and good morning, ladies and gentlemen from the esteemed media houses in Trivandrum. It is a pleasure to welcome all of you to the annual Navy Day press conference associated with the Navy Day 2025 being held in the land of Lord Ananta Thiruvananthapuram. Just to introduce you to the people on the dais, in the center we have Vice Admiral Sameer Saxena, Ati Vishishta Seva Medal, Nausena Medal, the Flag Officer Commanding in Chief, Southern Naval Command Kochi, sitting in center of the table. To his right, we have Rear Admiral Uppal Kundu, Vishishta Seva Medal, Chief of Staff, Southern Naval Command, and I am yours truly. To your right, we have Rear Admiral Rajneesh Sharma, ASY Naval Ship Repair Yard. We also have with us all the Chief Staff Officers, Station Commanders, and Officers under Southern Naval Command. The Navy is often described as a silent service. That's mostly true. We operate quietly, efficiently, and away from the limelight and your flashlights too. Today's press conference isn't just about briefing you, but it's one of our efforts in building an understanding with the masses through your medium. നമ്മുടെ ഇന്നത്തെ പത്രസമ്മേളനം സദൺ നേവൽ കമാൻഡ് മേധാവി വൈസ് അഡ്മിറൽ സമീർ സക്സേന അവരുടെ മീഡിയ അഡ്രസ്സും അതിനെ തുടർന്ന് നിങ്ങളുടെ ചോദ്യങ്ങൾക്കുള്ള അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ മറുപടി നൽകാനുമായിരിക്കും. ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ ഹിന്ദിയിലോ ഇംഗ്ലീഷിലോ മലയാളത്തിലോ ചോദിക്കാം. ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ ചോദിക്കേണ്ടവർ തങ്ങളുടെ പേരും മീഡിയ ഹൗസും പരിചയപ്പെടുത്തിയതിനു ശേഷം ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ ചോദിക്കേണ്ടതാണ്. You can ask your questions in English, Hindi or Malayalam. The questions in Malayalam will be translated by me for the benefit of everyone present here. As you can see, there are placards with numbers on them. If you would like to ask a question, please raise your placard. I will call out the number, a mic will be brought to you and you may ask the question. Without any further ado, may I request the Commander-in-Chief to start the proceedings, sir.
Flag off. I think this is sounding better now. So we'll start from the top. Flag officers, friends of the media, very good morning to each of you. It is indeed a matter of great pride and privilege for me to welcome each of you at the media conference on the occasion of Navy Day 2025. And I extend my warm greetings and best wishes to all personnel of the Indian Navy, and more importantly, to each and every citizen of our great maritime nation as we celebrate the valor, the professionalism, the dedication, and the indomitable spirit of the men and women in white who serve the Indian Navy. As you are aware, the country observes the Navy Day on the 4th of December every year to commemorate the audacious and daring attack on Karachi Harbour by the missile boats on the night of 4th of December 1971. This day is extremely important in the annals of the history of the Indian Navy. The Navy Day is an acknowledgement of the Indian Navy's role in Operation Trident in the 1971 war, and more importantly, it is a tribute to the bravery, courage, and the valor of our men who made the supreme sacrifice in the devotion to our beloved nation. On this day, we also express our deep gratitude to our veterans for their invaluable service, which is the foundation on which our Navy rests. Today, we rededicate ourselves to the service of our nation. Commemorating this historic day, the Indian Navy will demonstrate its formidable combat power and capability through an operational demonstration at the Shamangum Beach here on 3rd of December, that is tomorrow. The Honorable President, the Supreme Commander of the Indian Armed Forces, Srimati Draupadi Murmu, will be the chief guest. This mega event will provide a unique opportunity for all our citizens to witness the Navy's state-of-art platforms and multi-domain operations, reflecting the Navy's preparedness and ability to deliver power and precision across the maritime spectrum. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know Kerala's history is a story of maritime linkages, cultural exchanges, and naval prowess, and that has positioned the region at the crossroads of the Indian Ocean for millennia. It is indeed a proud privilege for the Southern Naval Command to conduct the event in the heart of God's own country, at the capital city of Thiruvananthapuram. This is in continuation of the Navy's effort to showcase the naval prowess across the coastal states. Last year it was in Puri, in Orissa. The year before it was in Sindhudurg, in Maharashtra, and this year we are here. In the last 78 years, the Indian Navy has grown from strength to strength and has stood firm, resilient, and continuously evolving to meet the challenges to our maritime interests. As a principal manifestation of India's maritime power, the Indian Navy is an embodiment of strength, steady, and a reliable force that inspires confidence, builds partnerships, and upholds the collective good that the oceans provide to humanity. Our growing operational capabilities, multi-domain awareness, expanding reach, extensive cooperative engagements with like-minded nations underscores India's role as the first responder and preferred security partner in shaping a free, open, and inclusive global commons across the region. Additionally, in the present day dynamic, strategic, and technical environment, the Indian Navy continues to play a pivotal role with strength, stability, maintaining a high level of operational preparedness. Operation Sindoor demonstrated the strength of jointness and strategic foresight of the Indian Armed Forces, wherein the Indian Navy played a critical role in asserting dominance and denied operational freedom to the adversary. The Indian Navy's ability to establish uncontested control over the seas also validated our multi-domain capability in a complex multi-threat environment. In the last 1 year, in response to shipping attacks and rising incidents of piracy in the Western Arabian Sea, the Indian Navy has deployed more than 35 ships in the region, responding to over 30 incidents, conducting more than 1,000 boarding operations, and this credible, swift action by the Indian Navy has saved more than 520 lives, irrespective of their nationality. This is in consonance with India's commitment to a free, open, and rule-based maritime order anchored in the vision of Mahasagar, a mutual and holistic advancement for security and growth across regions. The present force levels of the Indian Navy include more than 138 ships and submarines and over 264 aircraft. To augment these force levels, 51 ships are currently under construction in various shipyards, and in addition, the acceptance of necessity has been accorded for 65 ships and 9 submarines. Our expansion plans cover state-of-art next-generation OPVs, missile vessels, corvettes, destroyers, fleet support ships, submarines, the revitalization of our naval elements, aviation elements, subsurface assets, augmentation of uncrewed platforms, and induction of niche technologies and equipment to address emerging threats. Under the guiding vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat, we are steadfastly moving towards rapidly modernizing our force and have fully transitioned from a buyer's navy to a builder's navy. Today, our naval platforms have over 80% of indigenous content, a testament to India's robust shipbuilding ecosystem, including MSMEs and technology partners. We are inducting more than about one warship every 40 days. all of them indigenously built. In January this year, we had the landmark induction where we witnessed the commissioning of 3 major indigenous platforms, Nilgiri, the Surat, and the submarine Wakshi on a single day. This was followed by the commissioning of Arnala, Tamal, Udaygiri, Himgiri, Nistar, Androth, Ikshak, Mahe, and there are more to come before the year is over. This underscores our growing prowess in shipbuilding and ship reliance and our combat capability. While the growing number of assets and the expanse of the Indian Navy, the real challenge lies in having skilled and trained manpower, and this is where the Southern Naval Command has an important role to play. In the Southern Naval Command, as the Navy's training command, we follow the philosophy, train as you fight, for you will fight as you train. We train our personnel to operate and maintain state-of-the-art ships, submarines, and aircraft, wherein the training curriculum revolves around a vision clearly articulated in the realms of cognition, skill, and technology, accelerated by our collective efforts to think out of the box, to outthink, to outmatch our adversity. The Southern Naval Command oversees the entire training curriculum for all branches of the Indian Navy, ranging from ab initio, basic, professional, to advanced courses. While centered in Kochi, there are 32 naval training units of the Southern Naval Command spread across 7 coastal states, and we train 13,000 personnel in 1,600 different courses annually. Also, our canvas of training is not just limited to the Navy, but also meets the needs of our sister service, which of course includes the Indian Coast Guard, as well as friendly foreign countries. The Indian Naval Academy at Azimala, where we recently had a passing out parade, is a premier ab initio officer training establishment of the Indian Navy and one of the largest military academies in Asia. The Naval War College at Goa is the Indian Navy's premier institution for higher military studies and research and imparts leadership training at the strategic and operational level. INS Shivaji at Lonavala, INS Valsura and Jamnagar, Gujarat provide focused training on naval engineering, equipment, electronics, information technology, and other disruptive technologies, thereby skilling personnel in complex naval machinery, weapons, and systems. And these are just some of our training institutions. Additionally, in Chilka, which is in Orissa, which has traditionally served the Indian Navy's ab initio training for sailors, and with implementation of the Agnipath scheme, now the ab initio training of Agniveers is carried out at this institution, and since 2022, INS Chilka has successfully trained over 15,000 Agniveer. Further, the specialist training in domains like operations, anti-submarine warfare, naval communication, gunnery missile systems are conducted at various professional schools at Kochi. As a preferred training destination for friendly foreign countries, the Southern Naval Command has trained over 21,000 personnel from over 50 different foreign countries over the years. In the last year alone, 834 international trainees from 33 countries have undergone training in 24 naval training schools. We also deploy mobile training teams. This is when we send teams of our personnel with their training aids to foreign countries. And in addition, training delegations from Saudi Arabia, Oman, Myanmar, most recently Morocco, several times Sri Lanka, have visited our training institutions, and they have expressed a keen interest in training with the Indian Navy. The Flag Officer Sea Training, also based at Kochi, is under the Southern Naval Command, and he is entrusted with undertaking the operational sea training of all ships of the Indian Navy to make them ready prior to their mission deployment. He is also the Safety and Seamanship Class Authority for the Indian Navy, and in this year he has undertaken 175 workup activities across the full spectrum of platforms, from the indigenous aircraft carrier INS Vikrant to the smallest of our boats. The Navy continues to serve as the preferred security and the preferred training partner for maritime forces across the region. In furtherance to this mandate, recently we've had teams from the South African Navy submarine squadron being worked up, as well as the workup of the Mauritian Coast Guard ship Valiant and the Maldives Coast Guard ship Huravi. Several other similar proposals are under active consideration, and these activities are in consonance with the Navy's vision to establish ourselves as the regional center for training for friendly maritime countries. On the operational front, the ships of our first training squadron were deployed to Southeast Asia in February this year, with INS Shardul at the International Fleet Review at Bali in Indonesia, and the multilateral naval exercise Commodore 2025. Further, ships of our first training squadron also deployed to southwestern Indian Ocean and visited Seychelles, Reunion, Mauritius, Kenya, and Mozambique. The ships undertook joint exercises, training sessions, collaborative activities, strengthening strategic ties, and making a pivotal movement in regional partnership, mutual understanding, and enhancing interoperability. Our hydrographic survey ships, INS Sarvekshak and INS Satlaj, were deployed in Myanmar and Mauritius to undertake joint hydrographic surveys. The Indian Navy also spearheaded the Government of India's strategic vision of Sagar, or security and growth for all in the region. The Indian Ocean ship Sagar was a unique cooperative engagement and which was conceptualized to commemorate 10 years of Sagar and promote maritime security. This landmark mission was flagged off by the Honorable Raksha Mantri on the 5th of April this year. In a sense, it is INS Sunayana, a ship of the Southern Naval Command with 44 international crew from 9 Indian Ocean region countries that were deployed in the Southwest Indian Ocean to undertake joint naval exercises, professional exchanges, and EEZ surveillance for friendly IOR countries. Another milestone achievement for the Indian Navy under the aegis of the Southern Naval Command was the Navika Sagar Parikrama 2, a circumnavigation of the globe by the courageous duo of Lieutenant Commander Dilna and Lieutenant Commander Rupa. The successful completion of 50,000 kilometers of circumnavigation on board a sailing vessel, Indian Naval sailing vessel Tarini. These two women officers in May 2025 completed this arduous mission of 8 months, a testimony to their grit and determination. This expedition has been a defining chapter in India's maritime legacy and an inspiration for every Indian, including also redefining the idea of Nari Shakti. Here I would like to mention the induction of Indian Naval sailing vessel INSV Kundanya, a stitch ship. This extraordinary project, initiated in coordination with the Ministry of Culture of the Government of India, the vessel is constructed using the traditional method of stitching a ship by skilled artisans from Kerala using coir rope, coconut fiber, and natural resin. The ship was launched in February this year and is scheduled to undertake a transoceanic voyage from Gujarat to Oman very soon. A major responsibility for the Southern Naval Command is to ensure security of our vast coastline of Kerala and the Lakshadweep Islands. We have recently concluded the second edition of the Coastal Security Exercise Sagar Kavach, and I take this opportunity to acknowledge the cooperation extended by all stakeholders involved in the conduct of this exercise: the Indian Coast Guard, the Coastal Police, the Fisheries, the Customs, and all other central and state government agencies. With regard to the coastal security paradigm, I would particularly like to acknowledge the role of the state government of Kerala for their support through the joint Coastal Security Review construct. Our coastal population also needs special mention, for they are the eyes and ears of our efforts, and it has been our endeavor to sensitize them on that vital role through coastal security awareness campaigns throughout the year. Beyond the operational and training deployments, the Southern Naval Command ships and aircraft have been deployed for multiple search and rescue operations. The missions of the Kerala coast to save the lives during the sinking of MSC Elsa 3 in May this year, and the operation to contain fire on board MV Van High 503 in June needs special mention. The coordinated operations by the Indian Navy, the Coast Guard, and other stakeholders from the state, DG Shipping, have not only averted a major environmental disaster, but also ensured that our seas remain safe and free for navigation by all. The Southern Naval Command has also been at the forefront of various community engagement activities, environmental conservation activities, awareness programs, workshops promoting yoga, millets, mental wellness, engagement with education institutions, coastal cleanup, and other welfare activities throughout the year. It has been our constant endeavor to remain committed to the cause of society and the environment at large, and to contribute actively to nation building. This is in line with this year's Navy Day theme: the Indian Navy, combat ready, cohesive, Atmanirbhar, safeguarding the seas for a Viksit Simrat Bharat, safeguarding the seas for a progressive and prosperous India. Further, we remain fully committed to support the civil administration in Kerala, Mahe, and Lakshadweep Islands. That is the Southern Naval Command. The Navy is, of course, committed across the country. And as part of our community outreach initiatives, last year, we will be conducting a multi-specialty medical camp at various islands in Lakshadweep. The camp aims to provide necessary medical attention to the local populace, while the Indian Navy remains committed to the development of infrastructure in the Lakshadweep Islands. Penultimately, I would like to thank the government of Kerala for their tremendous support for tomorrow's event, and once again invite you all to what will be a spectacular operational demonstration at the Shavangam beach. The show starts at 1500 hours, that's 3 p.m., and your presence will be most valued. May I seek your indulgence to promote the event through your news houses and channels. In conclusion, I would like to reaffirm the Navy is resolved to remain ever vigilant, a combat-ready, cohesive, credible, future-ready force, and assure each of you that we remain ready to defend our country and our maritime interests. I thank you all and wish you every happiness, good health, prosperity for your future endeavors. Shanavaruna, Jai Hind. So I'm open for questions if there are any.
The House is open for the questions. A word of caution: the questions may please be limited to the ambit of Indian Navy and no political questions, please. Can I have the first question, please? Table 1.
Hello, I'm Praveen from PTI. In fact, in 2017, with the growing presence of China in the southern seas, in the Indian Ocean region, India had mooted out a plan like Maritime Capability Perspective Plan 2027, just 1 year remaining, and the goal was to have 212 warships and 458 naval aircrafts. Can you elaborate something on that? Where have we reached so far?
Yeah. So, your question thank you very much for your question, Praveen. So you started with Chinese presence, and I was thinking about that. And then you talked about the total number of platforms.
It was a plan to
there was a plan,
our capability.
the Maritime Capability Perspective Plan. So the Maritime Capability Perspective Plan is drawn by the Naval Headquarters and is endorsed also by the Ministry of Defense. It is certainly an aspirational plan. It is certainly an aspirational plan. It is made in 1 year. It looks 10 years ahead, and it is certainly aspirational. Now that aspiration has to be met by several stakeholders. Shipbuilding projects are not easy. They have now become, much more efficient and rapid, which is why we are churning out, like I said, a ship in about 40 days. But this is more a recent development, the thrust to Atmanirbharta, the support to the shipbuilding industry, the MSMEs that support the shipbuilders and shipbuilding yards. So it is an aspirational plan. Perhaps in that MCPP, the numbers that we reached, intended, were not reached. Also, you know that there is a budgetary constraint across the nation with so many competing demands for finances in our great country. And so it is aspirational. We are getting there. We have not got the numbers that you mentioned at 212. Yes, we are not at 212 now, but it is an aspirational endeavor.
But have you rescheduled the timeline at least?
So yeah, so the MCPP is now, the one you mentioned was 2027, no? So now the latest MCPP is 2232. So we are, we rewrite the MCPP, and the long-term perspective plans are continuously revisited.
We'll pause. We have to give chance to the other journalists also. Yes, ma'am. Table number.
Don't worry, I'm in no hurry. I will answer all the questions.
Table 6.
Myself, Vinaya from Doordarshan.
Ma'am, I missed your name.
Vinaya from
Vinaya. So, what's the position of Indian Navy in terms of Atmanirbharta? Like what percentage it is, and also the private-public partnership in shipbuilding and these weapons also. And secondly, is there any update on the second indigenous-built aircraft carrier?
Thank you, Vinaya. Thank you. All very nice questions. So firstly, on Atmanirbharta. On Atmanirbharta, I will say that, the Indian Navy has been committed for decades on building ships in India. There is a recent impetus on our Atmanirbharta, but let us recall that the first indigenous ship built in India was INS Ajay by GRSC in 1961. Then in MDL we had the Leander project, we had the Godavari class, then the Brahmaputra class. So for decades, the Indian Navy has been committed to building ships in India. You asked about percentage. So that's also a very interesting question. So if you look at a ship, a ship is a city that sails and fights and moves. So first it needs to float, then it needs to move, then it needs to fight. So if you look at in the float component, what does it take to make a ship float? We are about 90% totally indigenous. If you look at the move component, we are about 60% totally indigenous. And if you look at the fight component, we are 50% indigenous. And of course, our aim is by 2047 to be completely indigenous. So we are working towards those goals. And you also mentioned about public-private partnership, which is really interesting question, because the bigger names are well known, whether it is MDL or Cochin Shipyard or GRSC or HSL. There are 19 different shipyards which are helping us build ships. So they are doing part of the ships. Like for example, the ASW shallow watercraft being built, the contract is with GRSC, but a large part of the ship, those ships are with L&T. So there's a collaborative engagement by the smaller shipyards, not that L&T by any yardstick, a small shipyard, it's a beautiful shipyard at Kattupalli, and in Gujarat there are many smaller shipyards, and they are all contributing to the, in part building to the bigger ships. So that is for shipbuilding. also, a great focus on innovation and reaching out to the industry. This is what we want, this is what we need, and this is, where the future of warfare is going to go. So we have the IDEX program, the Swabilamban program, and we are reaching out to the industry, telling them what we need, showing them what we have, telling them, how the maritime domain operates, and hand-holding this great endeavor. I say it's a great endeavor because it's going to involve all of us, a whole of nation approach, if we have to become Atmanirbhar. Thank you, ma'am.
Just hold on. We have to give chance to,
Did I miss something? I missed the question. Indigenous? Oh yeah, I did not. Okay, I did not answer the question correctly. So where are we on the second indigenous aircraft carrier? We are presently on the drawing board. It is once again aspirational, and we definitely need a follow-on aircraft carrier. The acceptance of necessity for that has not yet been accorded, but is continuously being discussed at the policy circles at New Delhi, where we discuss capability development. So there are a lot of things that the Navy wants, and so they have to be paced out. And certainly it is very much in the conversation, but right now that aircraft carrier is on the drawing board.
Thank you. Table number?
Sir, for myself, RP Vinod from News.
Vinod from Asian.
Vinod.
Sir, how many naval vessels are participating in tomorrow's exercise?
How many naval vessels are participating
In tomorrow's exercise? Okay, 20, no?
19.
Yeah.
So, for this op demo, which is happening tomorrow, we have got 19 major war vessels, 1 submarine, 4 FICs, and about 32 aircraft, both fighters as well as surveillance, maritime reconnaissance surveillance, and helicopters.
It's going to be the full range. Be there. Okay? You will not be disappointed. Be there. We're going to have the aircraft carrier out there. You're going to have small, fast, FIC fast interceptor boats, helicopters, P-8Is, MiGs, Hawks. A lot of things are going to be there. It is my promise to you, nobody will be disappointed.
Thank you. Can we give one?
Sir, is the purchase of the new fighter jets for INS Vikrant is being considered, sir, we are only using in MiG-39 already?
No, I think the Rafale deal is what? It's true.
It's true. So, hearing the news in the Rafale Marine type is coming.
Yes, that deal is true.
When it is coming?
It will come when it comes. I'm not in that part of the world, in that procurement world anymore. But the deal is signed for the Rafale for the Indian Navy.
Thank you. Can we have table number 1?
With you. Ayyappan from Times of India.
The mic, I
Mr.
think.
Ayyappan from Times of India.
Yes, Mr. Appen.
Yeah, Ayyappan from Times of India. Can you tell us what is the progress in the theatre command that has been planned around Trivandrum?
In theatre command?
Yeah. And have you received the land, or has land has been identified, or do we need land? And what are the additions that is going to come? And how strategically important that is, etc.
And how?
Strategically important that is.
Strategically important. So, theatre commands. Theatre commands, once again, being discussed at the highest level of the policy at New Delhi, at the COSC. The COSC is where the CDS and all the 3 chiefs sit together and they're discussing theatre commands, when theatre commands will come, how they will come, what will be the shape of the theatre commands. So as a precursor to that is integration. Integration means that the 3 services are to, work increasingly with each other. And that is happening. Today in most of the command headquarters, we have cross appointments of, say, it's a naval command, we've got Air Force officers over there, we've got Army officers over there. So that integration, understanding, working with each other, recognizing each other's strengths, understanding each other's operating environments, that part is already in progress. For example, for the training command, INS Hamla is designated as the school for catering for all 3 services, the Joint Service Institute. So a lot of things that we used to do separately, we are now doing together. Let's call that integration. Specifically coming to your question of Theatre Command, that too is right now being deliberated at the Policy World in New Delhi, and I'm sure something great will come out of that. Because all future warfare is going to be joint. It is going to be not future warfare, the warfare right now is the joint application of force. None of the services are going to operate in silos. It's going to be the joint application of force which is going to ensure victory in war. So theatre commands will come up. I think you have some advanced information about it coming up in Trivandrum, which I also heard about in the press and what we've read. But there's nothing specific like land acquisition or all which has happened. Certainly, if, any places, today in a network-centric world, any place is capable of being anything. You know, it is connected to everywhere.
Thank you. Can I have the next? Table 2. Just raise your placard.
Yeah.
Or raise your hand at least.
And check mic is working.
Do you have any plan to AI technology in Navy warships?
AI technology.
AI technology, yeah. There is going to be, you know it better than me, AI is going to be all over our lives. And therefore, it will definitely be in the, it is in the Navy. It will increasingly be more in the Navy. And the INS Valsura is the Center of Excellence for AI in the Indian Navy. INS Valsura, as I mentioned, was the electrical school at Jamnagar in Gujarat, and that is our Center of Excellence for AI and taking AI forward. We've also got an organization in Bangalore that's taking AI forward and discussing with industry. But today each of us has to be a center of excellence to understand AI, because it's going to change our life. It is changing our lives completely. So the Indian Navy is definitely, let me assure you, the Indian Navy is technologically very advanced, and I tell every Indian naval officer that you have to make technology an extension of your nervous system if you are in the Indian Navy. So definitely we are using AI. We are using AI in several dimensions. And I don't think any part of our lives as human beings are going to be untouched with AI. Some for the better, some for the worse, but definitely it will be there in the Navy.
Thank you. Table number 5.
Myself, Rakesh Nair from Madhubhumi Daily.
Rakesh?
Rakesh Nair. Sir, extend to the earlier question for the theatre command. Now, the Vizhinjam port is already set up and functioning. Vizhinjam International Port is already set up and functioning. Trivandrum became a strategically important point for maritime security. What is Navy planning to do for this maritime security in this region, in southern tip of India, exclusively for this such international seaport like that?
Certainly. And we are all there in Kochi, not far from you, just north of you. Historically, we are in Kochi. And so that's where the Southern Naval Command is based. And the fantastic thing about ships is that they move, and they move very fast. And not only they do move fast, then they have persistence to stay there in a place for a long time. So the CNC West Naval Command is the CNC Coastal Defense for the Western Seaboard. The CNC East Naval Command is the CNC Coastal Defense for the Eastern Seaboard. So every asset on the coast is our responsibility from the perspective of defense. So we are presently not here at this port, but we are all over. And our surveillance is all over. And we will be there when we have to be there. Let me assure you that.
Is there any near future plan for set up any naval command here in Trivandrum?
Naval Command.
Naval base in Trivandrum.
We have a small presence, NAI presence over here already. Now that presence will increase probably with time. If we can positively answer his question about land and getting land over here, maybe we will be here in larger numbers.
Thank you.
Rumors,
Can you-
Then let him finish his question. Yeah.
earlier rumors that the Navy has taken some land at Muttatra for this naval base.
Nobody tells me rumors here. Nobody tells me rumors. Unfortunate. Sina, why don't you tell her, what are you doing over here?
Mike.
Take a mic.
I'm Commander Shankar Sharad, Sina Trivandrum. So we have acquired 4 acres of land from the state government a year and a half back. So now the project is on. The DPR is in progress, where we are going to have our own office and some accommodation facility and basic facilities for the men. So that is what we all have right now. It's in progress. The construction will start soon.
Thank you.
So, you know, the way coastal security is run, it is run in a way that there is a joint operations center, a GOC, at Kochi. There we've got the representation of the Coast Guard, the fisheries, the customs, and all the feeds are coming there. All the radar feeds, the CCTV feeds, the satellite feeds, all the pictures are coming there. So it is, and then they are networked across the country with other control centers. So that starting off, most importantly, with our brothers and sisters who are the fishing community. They will be our eyes and ears, going right up to satellites and radars, coastal surveillance networks. They're all interconnected. So really, do you have to be at a particular port is really not relevant anymore. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, please.
I'll just add to the coastal security network. We have the naval officer in charge Kerala, who reaches out to all the fishing communities.
That's him.
In fact, they have been, I must say that the coastal community of Kerala are very proactive, be it information of boats coming from other states. If you are aware, all states, they have a different color code of boats. So they're very active. Any information comes to the GOCC, we tell to the coastal police, they investigate, and including information if there is any drug transaction or trafficking is happening. So it's a complement. It's a well integrated, I would say, a network of information which have. There is, of course, scope for improvement. There are resources being allocated by the state government, by the central government, that is Home Ministry. So this will be an ongoing process.
And it's very effective also, let me tell you this, because when we do the exercise, when we do sea vigil exercise, or we do some, tactical exercise, we split our forces between red and blue, and say, the red force is try to make a foray into, say, blue land. So it's a tactical exercise which is simulated. It's a naval exercise, and we end up getting caught by the coastal police, or the coastal police is aware of it. So there is a great awareness. There's a great awareness. I'm not saying that there is no vulnerability, but there is a great awareness of the risk. And we have come a long, long way since 2008. That's what I would like to say.
Can I have one question from?
Sam Prasad from Madhubhumi News. In connection with the Vizhinjam, the cargo ship movements in this region increase, and is the possibility of smuggling increase, and is this scenario in the busy sea route scenario in this region challenging for Southern Naval Command?
Smuggling.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So you see the Peninsula India. The Peninsula India and how all the sea lanes of communication are passing through, across the Indian Ocean region and in close proximity to Peninsula India. So this is where most of the world's trade is going through. 80% of the world's fuel, 50% of the container traffic, over almost 60% of the bulk cargo, all of this is passing close to our coast. So certainly there is a risk. There are other risks. I think smuggling, I would go, gun trafficking, the greatest risk to my mind, greatest emerging risk to my mind is narcotics. And the flow of narcotics through the oceans is something that we should be deeply, deeply concerned about for ourselves, for our children, for our next generation.
Thank you. Table 4, I'll come to you. Switch on the mic and give now.
Tiki from the Hindu. The Air Force has already announced plans for expansion in Agathi and Minicoy. So what is the Navy planning for? You have already mentioned the challenges in the Western Arabian Sea. And my second question is regarding the construction of ships. You said that 51 ships are under construction, right? 65 more, that is in addition. The 65
Yeah.
more.
So, 50, I'll explain at 51, 65, I'll explain it, yeah. So first Lakshadweep. So the Navy has got a footprint in Minicoy, in Kavrathi, in Agathi, and Bitra.
Bitra is going to come up.
Yeah. So we've got presence over there. I'm aware of the Air Force intention to build a Minicoy runway at Minicoy. And let me assure you, coming into the future, all assets are joint. I landed right here at the Air Force station here. So all assets are joint. So, and we look forward to greater infrastructure development in Lakshadweep Islands. Of course, it's a very fragile ecosystem. We want to be very careful how we develop it. We already have INS Jatayu at Jatayu is at
Jatayu is at Minicoy.
Minicoy, and
Deep Rakshak.
So we have presence. We want to increase the presence, including at some point of time placing weapon systems there. So all that will happen. It will happen in a measured way. It's a very fragile ecosystem. We don't want to upset any part of that ecosystem, and we want to ensure the security of the region.
So, in Bitra we have a naval detachment coming up, and it is more or less complete. So hopefully by early next year, we already have the manpower being positioned there slowly. It'll take some time, but by next year it should be fully functional. That is what we have.
So coming to your other part of your question, I said 51 ships are under construction. That means there are 51 ships where somebody is today cutting steel, welding, doing work in some shipyard on 51 such platforms. So those are already contracted for, the work is in progress, those are happening. So how is a ship finally approved for being built? Coming from the MCPP that you mentioned, the Maritime Capability Perspective Plan, you take that plan, you present it to the government, you present it to the Ministry of Defense, and it is discussed in the Defense Acquisition Council, which is headed by the RRM. And then when it is accepted that this platform, let's say the next generation destroyer, next generation frigate is required, they give what they call a AON, acceptance of necessity. And then from that acceptance of necessity is a long journey before the contract is signed, because shipbuilding contracts are running into the thousands of crores. Those require CCS approval. So then you go RFP, you get the bids from the shipyards, you establish who has the capability to build it, you open the technical bid, you open the commercial bid, there's a price negotiation, and then it finally goes for the CCS approval. So when I said we have got the acceptance of necessity for 65 ships and 9 submarines, that is still a work in progress before people start cutting steel.
Thank you. You want to ask?
So you have finally asked me my favorite question. So I was just waiting how long it will take for China to come into the room. So it's a very interesting question, and you have to give me some time to answer this. Yeah. So, and I say this, particularly for Kerala, the presence of Chinese is nothing new. You have the Chinese fishing nets. How did they come? They also came through some Chinese traders as well. What is the difference of that Chinese intent and today? That was very transparent, it was trade. I think today the world is a lot more complex and lot more volatile. So really the point is that a concern is China is an independent state. They're a sovereign country. They're a huge country with a fantastic economy, a very large navy. So they are here. That should not surprise anybody. What is a concern that is since the times that came earlier in millennia preceding now is the lack of transparency. So when I say the lack of transparency, we see research vessels, we see undersea domain activities, we see increased presence of their surveillance platforms, and also at times we have seen their submarines being deployed over here. So is this a concern? I don't really think so. They have a right to be here. In the past, let us not forget that not too long ago, in 2008, when piracy first started, when we were doing the convoy system to escort merchant vessels, the Indian Navy and the Chinese Navy were coordinating their efforts to escort in the heights of piracy in 2008. But really, what is the role of the Chinese Navy now and their increasing presence, including the increasing effort to build infrastructure in a variety of countries in the Indian Ocean region? Certainly they're great economic superpower. They also have their reasons to protect their trade, but the clarity with which they are willing to contribute to the collective effort of the security of the global commons is opaque. You would recall when there were several attacks by Houthis, there was an increase in piracy. I mentioned to you the Indian Navy, 35 ships deployed, thousands of 1,000 boarding operations, 520 people, irrespective of their nationality, rescued. I don't think anybody can narrate to me the equivalent contribution by the Chinese forces. So they are here. We are okay with it. We have our eyes on them. And they are operating within our interior lines. So, no, I don't call it a threat. I just say that we are well aware of it and we will address it to ensure that our national maritime interests are not for a moment jeopardized by their presence.
Thank you.
Sir, in fact, India wanted to take a strategic leadership position by the formation of Indian Ocean Rim Association, of collecting all the countries together and to have a strategic leadership position in the naval operations in the Indian Ocean region. Can you just elaborate something on that? What is the status on that? Is it anyway going through, or have we dropped that idea already?
No, we have not dropped the idea. We are very much in a position of strategic leadership in the Indian Ocean region, as was defined 10 years ago by the Honorable Prime Minister in his vision of Sagar, which is security and growth for all in the region, now redefined with a larger canvas to Mahasagar. So there are things that we are doing, all the things that I mentioned, the EZ surveillance, the training that we are doing for friendly foreign countries. We are the preferred security partner. We are the preferred training partner. So they are, because what is the difference? The difference is that whenever we do something, it is with complete respect to any state's sovereignty and independence. We offer them help in times of HADR, in disaster relief. As Highness Vikrant, which you will see tomorrow, was 3 days ago. It was in Colombo, helping them there. So we offer support. We offer help when asked for. This is not debt diplomacy. So I think we are deeply respected in the communities across nations. And so I think we are in a very good position. And let me also say that, you mentioned IORA. So we are going to have the International Fleet Review.
IORA.
Yeah.
Indian Ocean Rim Association.
Rim Association.
Yeah.
So we have got several constructs. We are going to have the International Fleet Review in Visakhapatnam in February in the coming year, which is going to have over 60, 70 countries represented over there. On the back of that, we have got the IONS happening, the ION Conclave of Chiefs. So there's a lot of leadership that the Indian Navy is engaging with the littorals of the Indian Ocean region as equals.
Thank you, sir. Neetu?
Hi, I'm Neetu from CNN News 18. You spoke about the security of Kerala's coast and the recent joint exercise. So just wanted to know, has there been any change in the nature or intensity of the threats along the coast?
I think, the world has just become more complex. The world has become more complex. So I think the nature of threats, I would say apart from the year, there's been a little bit of a exponential rise, I think, in narcotics, which should concern us all. And there's no change in the nature of threats. Anything can come from the sea route. We've got a very long coastline. So there's no change in the nature of the threats, but there is an increasing awareness that we need to be ever vigilant. And that vigilance is going to be the price of safety for our citizens. So there's a greater synergy between all the stakeholders, as I mentioned, the Coast Guard, the State Police, Customs, Fisheries. So we are working round the clock to make sure that the coastal areas are safe and secure. The Defense PRO is continuously prodding me about the lunch. However, I am in no rush for lunch. One last, he's defined the lunch timing.
We have a plan for having a remotely piloted aircraft system, which could even monitor the borders of Atlantic Ocean. Are we still? Is there any update on that? And also about the missile tracking ship.
Missile tracking ship. Yeah, so we have a missile tracking ship.
Do we have? There was a plan there.
It is there. The ship is there. So the plan has been converted into steel. Yes, the DRDO has got several programs for remotely piloted aircraft. We also, so that is the indigenous one. Also Dishti. Dishti is an indigenous UAV. And there are smaller UAVs. UAVs in the sense are now they're handheld UAVs also which are sent. So unmanned platforms are all over. And in much bigger and more powerful platform is the MQ-9, again, which 31 of which have been contracted, which is very powerful. It's a General Atomics aircraft, and those are right now we've got two, which are on COCO model, and those are deployed not only in the maritime regions, also on the northern borders.
Can we have the last question on table 2?
There's one question there also.
Okay.
There's three.
That's. Take it. Hold on. We'll come to you afterwards.
Sir, just two things.
Earlier you were
Can you
emphasizing...
name and...
Ayyappan from Onmanorama. So earlier you were emphasizing on the MSME thing. You've spoken about the big names like L&T. Who are the micro and small industries that provide to the Navy? It's just out of curiosity. That's one. And second, we had the sinking of MSC Elsa off the Kerala coast, and the entire contents were dumped in the ocean, and the coastal people are suffering as a result of that. Even now, there is pollution. Is there something that the Navy can do about it? Is the Navy part of a plan to help help the coastal population? And is this sinking of cargo ships, especially after the commission, after operations have begun in Vizhinjam, is that a new threat that the Navy is facing?
So, taking all your questions one from the top first. MSMEs, actually, the exact names of the MSMEs, if you're looking at. So what happens now? The contract to build a destroyer is given to, say, Mazagon Docks. The Mazagon Docks will subcontract to some other MSMEs. So it is a whole ecosystem that is going into building a ship. The exact names of the MSMEs or the, who are the top performing MSMEs and all, I'm afraid I don't have that level of detail to share with you. So that is about the MSMEs. So I'm telling you, shipbuilding is an ecosystem. It is an ecosystem. It is not one yard that is making it. There are hundreds of companies that are feeding into the yard that is supposedly the yard that delivers the ship. Well, I say suppose it is delivering the ship, but I'm saying it is not a singular effort of one shipyard to make. It cannot be. A ship is a system of systems. So, there are a huge number of MSMEs that contribute to this ecosystem. Specifically, pollution actually is a Coast Guard charter. So, pollution control is a Coast Guard charter. Of course, we have a joint charter, joint responsibility to keep our maritime commons safe, and the Navy and the Coast Guard work very closely. But actually, the pollution control capability is with the Coast Guard. And the specifics about this sinking? Ops, if you can just give me the specifics of the sinking.
Check. Sir, this incident, Elsa 3, happened in May this year. And close to it, there was another incident of Van High also. So, as the scenes is already brought out, the Navy, Coast Guard, other coastal security agencies, NOIC Kerala, and the state administration, disaster management authority, etc., we have very good liaison amongst ourselves. So moment this happened, the state government, topmost leadership of the state government, and we all got together and started the efforts to contain the contingency. So initial effort was to primarily see if we can save the vessel. However, that could not happen. Our ships were there, aircrafts were there, Coast Guard vessels were there, and subsequently when the sinking happened, same time, again, Chief Secretary level also, the meetings were happening. All of us, all the stakeholders were participating in those meetings, and all assets requested were being provided. Navy was contributing by way of our survey ships going to the area and trying to identify where these containers that have gone, that have sunk, where those containers are located, diverting the other shipping traffic from that area till the time contingency could be managed. And subsequently, some of the containers started washing ashore. So again, the state pollution control people, etc., we were very proactively, we had a group, even the fishing community was continuously informing us that something has washed ashore, etc. And very proactively, the sensitive contents, if at all, any chemicals, etc., were getting washed ashore, were immediately isolated and were getting removed to the locations where it is safe. So I would only say that the close coordination that we have with all the stakeholders in the maritime domain helped us to very quickly gather our resources and in a very, very synergized manner put our efforts to make sure that the population is safe, shoreline is safe. As on today, it is a contract run by the owners of that Elsa 3 vessel, which are making an effort to either retrieve the vessel or make the wreck safe while it is under at the bottom of the sea. So that is the status as of now.
Just to add, naval survey ships were deployed to chart that area to map each and every container where they are, and based on that, the navigational hazards have been removed. So that has been done. And as brought out by him, we were clear accurately as to where the containers will float based on the current tidal patterns. And this was indicated to Chief Secretary. We have got a program in the Navy and an organization which looks after this and ensured that before the container come to the shore, some of them, the mitigation measures were employed by the state government.
Thank you, Comrade Sarvpreet. Thank you, Kos. So I now require, many questions you can give, but I want one volunteer from the members of the press who will define the lunch hour. One person who's going to take a position of leadership and say that I am going to define the lunch hour. Anyway, pending that, we will take on as many questions as you've got.
In 1971, we were the kings of Indian Ocean, the only Asian country with an aircraft carrier.
Can you be a little louder?
In 1971, India was the king of Indian Ocean, the only country with an aircraft carrier in Asia. Now China has 3 fully operational aircraft carrier and another nuclear aircraft carrier is under construction. All of them above 40,000 ton displacement. In case of war scenario, will our assets are enough to break a naval blockade by China?
Are our assets enough to
block the way of China.
Block the way of China? Is it? So that's the question. Are our assets?
In case of a war scenario, if there is a naval blockade by China, can our assets break that?
Break a blockade. Okay. So firstly, I would like to say that very kind of you to say that we were the kings of Indian Ocean in 1971. But as you are well aware, that in 1947 we had given up all connection to royalty and a totally democratic society. So yes, the Indian Navy was in 1971. INS Vikrant was deployed in the Bay of Bengal. Absolutely true. Which enforced the blockade of East Pakistan. So while Navy Day commemorates the attack on Karachi Harbour, it's very interesting that you brought up this point because it is important to reflect upon what happened on the eastern seaboard. And the blockade of East Pakistan by the carrier battle group, the center of which was INS Vikrant, and that blockaded the escape of the Pakistani forces from the natural sea route. The bombardment of Cox's Bazar, keeping the Pakistani forces trapped in what was then East Pakistan. This was a gigantic and very historical success that led to the surrender of 93,000 Pakistani prisoners of war. So yes, in that sense, we were the only country that had an aircraft carrier at that point in time. That aircraft carrier was INS Vikrant, which was the erstwhile HMS Hercules, which had been built by the Royal Navy. And we we purchased that in the early 1950s, I think it was 54. Then we purchased the aircraft carrier. So yes, today China has 3 aircraft carriers, very correctly said. And they are very large aircraft carriers, potentially very powerful. We haven't really seen them in action, but they are potentially, I would imagine, capable, potentially capable. So I don't think they can blockade us. We are a peninsular nation. And 3 aircraft carriers, I don't think they got 3 to spare to come here. And firstly, I want to say that, you said about being the king of Indian Ocean. Firstly, I want to tell you that China is not in the Indian Ocean. China is in the Pacific Ocean. So he can stay in the 9-dashed line or whatever line he wants to call it. So, but if they were to come here, how would they come? What are the routes? There's the Malacca Strait, there's the Lombok Strait, there's the Sunda Strait, Mbayawata Strait. They have to come through some strait. And they should be concerned. There is such a thing like a Malacca dilemma, going through a narrow choke point. So I don't think it is, I think it's very hypothetical, and I won't like to speculate as to, the Chinese trying to blockade India. It is a great leap of,
But their presence
hallucination.
is increasing, sir. They have naval bases in Hambantota, airways you said, Bangladesh, Cox's Bazar, and also Pakistan. Everywhere their presence is now. String of pearls.
Yes, a string of pearls. Ah, lovely. So, certainly, they are building dual-use infrastructure. Hambantota is not a naval base. It's a commercial port built in Sri Lanka for whatever reason. Gwadar is also, as you pointed out, being developed by the Chinese through the China-Pakistan Belt and Road Initiative. Now, whether these places have got any utility for the host country or they are a debt trap, only time will tell. In fact, recent history has also shown the cost of those projects that are inflicted upon countries because the Chinese have a surplus infrastructure developing capacity. So, a string of pearls. You're a young man. Are you married? You are married. So, to any young person, especially young men in a romantic relationship, I always recommend a string of pearls. Because you can buy pearls, ma'am, you can buy pearls for 2,000 rupees and 2 lakh rupees and they look almost the same. So what is the utility of a string of pearls? I can tell you one thing, you can't throttle anybody with a string of pearls. So those are my thoughts on the string of pearls.
Thank you, sir. We can take last one question. Only one.
We'll take last 2 questions.
My name is Sawad. I'm from Manorama News. This is an added question. As you have said, we have our own capabilities to check China, and we have a multi-dimensional plan. And one of that plan is to coordinate with like-minded parties, like-minded countries. One of that effort is the Quad formation. Do you think the relevance of Quad has been a little bit diminished since the second Trump administration, and the recent years, the transactional nature of the U.S. foreign policy, of current U.S. foreign policy? Do you think how we manage, how we tackle this crisis if the unstable attitude of U.S. and their foreign policies?
Sir, why are you asking me this question? I'm a military officer. I'm not in the, foreign policy world. I definitely have an opinion, but I'm not an authority on responding to your question, regrettably. Just let me say that, there can be a second, any administration. We are a civilization. That's all I want to say. We are a 5,000-year-old civilization. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Last.
So many Chinese flying ships are coming to Indian Ocean, and they are also in Sri Lanka. So how will you overcome all that flying ships?
Chinese spying ships are in the Indian Ocean region, so then how do we
monitor?
We know where they are. There may be spying ships, but we also know where they are. So we also got our means to spy on spying ships. No, we do not allow anybody to threaten what is our area of interest. What is our national maritime interest? We will not allow anybody to threaten it. So the minute somebody comes through the Malacca Strait or through Sunda Strait, we've got, like I said, eyes on them. Continuous eyes on them. We know where they are. We almost know what they are doing. We cannot completely know what they are doing. particularly if they're collecting oceanographic data. So, but we know where they are, and we've got continuous eyes on them. So I don't think anybody should be too concerned about them. Like I said, their presence is concerning because of the lack of transparency.
Thank you, sir. We'll end it. I'll end it.
Shall we end it? I think we have a collective yes to end it. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your presence. And like I said, please be there tomorrow. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thank you.
Shall we make the closing statement?
Oh, you have to make some closing remarks. Please do it.
This brings us to the end of the press conference. Once again, thank you for all your time and your professionalism today, and also for not making me sweat. We look forward to speaking with you again, fair winds and following seas in all your future endeavors. You can also interact with the officers of Southern Naval Command after formal completion of the event. However, that shall not be quoted. You are all requested to join the team Southern Naval Command for the lunch prior departure. Thank you, sir.
Defense Bureau, I did not know that you sweat in doing your job. Thank you. Thank you all.